Hi, everyone. I'm Ritesh, co-founder, CEO of Effectiv. With me, I have Rob, part of our GTM team. He's going to help me with the demo. I'm one of the co-founders of Effectiv. I've spent last 13 years at the intersection of fraud, risk, and data science, starting as a data scientist who thought we'll just build a model and decimate all the fraud. So naive. Since then, in the last 10, 13 years, I've seen it growing exponentially. So I start by asking this question to a lot of people that I met today: can you imagine a world without fraud? And they all say no. But then I ask them, can you imagine a world without less fraud, without less customer complaints, without disputes, without chargebacks? And a lot of them say, yeah, we want to imagine. And then I ask them, what's stopping you from doing that? Similarly, when I ask a lot of people in the financial institution, 5 different people, I ask the same question related to fraud and risk. They have 5 different answers. You ask a fraud investigator, they are like, oh, I wish I had a faster way to implement a strategy and take it to production without having to rely on engineers and products. I ask a chief risk officer, and they're like, I wish I knew where the inefficiencies are. I wish I could educate my executives on more risk-educated growth and show direct impact on the top line. I ask a compliance officer, they're like, oh my God, there are too many false positives. You're spending time in looking through multiple tools, some sanction lists we didn't check against, some watch lists we didn't check against, and then we are dealing with hundreds of thousands of SARs every year. Regulators come knocking at the door every 6 months, and then we have to generate these documents again to fulfill their requirements. If I ask operations manager, their problem is, I don't know where my team is spending so much time. If I knew, I could guide them, I can educate them, I can create very educated training programs for us to be able to scale our program. And when you ask the CEO, they're like, oh, I wish I could solve all of these problems so that I can focus on growing my business, on growing my bank, growing my financial institution, focus on the growth. That is what I'm hired for doing. That is what I have started the business for. Case in point, we all have opinions on what we want and what we want to be solved for, but something is stopping us from doing so. And what is that that's stopping us from doing so? This is the question that we kept asking hundreds of people before starting Effectiv, and one thing that kept emerging as a theme, there wasn't a way for us to get a comprehensive view into where the customers are coming from, where the members are coming from, what they are doing, and what point of time they're doing. Can we do it with one integration, or do we need hundreds of integrations? You ask Core, you ask LOS, you ask all of these players, and none of them have the data into your customers and members and their interaction. When we worked toward building this system 2 years, 3 years ago, we started a point where one single integration can be used to get all of your customer interactions, be it onboarding, be it transaction, be it money movement, be it non-financial interactions like login, password detection, and we suggest those policies in an automatic manner if the fraud is emerging from places that you haven't seen before. We consolidate your entire risk tool chain into one single place so that you don't have to continue to fight for product and engineering resources to be able to work through multiple vendors, through multiple relationships. In doing so, we have now worked with more than 24 financial institutions. Our system has been implemented across multiple use cases, be it onboarding, whether it's giving out a new loan, whether it's giving out a new credit card product, whether it's giving out a new member account, whether it's giving out a new deposits account, or if you want to offer some money movement modalities to your members or to your customers, we have a solution that is a plug and play that you don't have to do it all in one. You can integrate with one and start layering out other solutions as you grow with us. And on the other hand side, which a lot of people have started thinking of as a global, as a comprehensive solution, is on the login side. The way we think of it as when people are doing these events with you, you don't want to add friction at the time when they are logging in, logging out. But at the time when the money is moving, that's where the most risk is at. So we continue to learn as much as we can and educate our strategy designer, the fraud and risk people on what kind of strategy that they can implement at the time before money moves. With that said, we have a strategy designer that Rob is going to show you in a place, which comes with out-of-the-box suggestions that you can use as is if you want, but you can fully customize to add and drop whatever you need to drop in terms of pulling a new data service, pulling a new machine learning model, writing a new strategy in a fully customizable, fully self-supported way. But we have a risk and solutions team that works with you to be able to implement some of the strategies. We automatically also suggest these hypotheses. The biggest pain point in the fraud world that we have experienced in the last 13 years, both individually as a team, every time a new fraud attack comes, there is a delay in one understanding the attack, and then another delay in coming up with the typology and then putting into the production. In between, you have to test it and show the impact of that. We automate that process by, one, understanding the patterns, suggesting the strategy, and giving you a very comprehensive set of testing suite that you can use to be able to test those. Before we go into the testing scenario, I do want to make sure, as an ML practitioner, we use ML very seriously in a sense that it's a backbone for our system. I told myself I'm not going to use generative AI as a term today because it's been overused, I feel, over the last 2 days. So every time I'm going to use the word, I'm going to use machine learning in 2 scenarios. One is unsupervised and one is supervised. Unsupervised we use to be able to detect suspicious behavior, and then supervised we use to be able to learn what has happened in the system to create responsible and explainable model. One of the biggest pain point in the financial institution, being it a very regulated market, to be able to create these models that can work across multiple use cases. For example, if you have an ACH transaction fraud happening, we have an out-of-the-box model that takes your data, that takes global intelligence, puts together in a strategy, gives you what can be implemented, what can be tested. Within that, you have other scenarios. Once you pick a model or want to launch a strategy, we have a comprehensive suite of testing scenarios, including unit test, edge test, back test, and champion challenger, which is where we have built it such that this champion challenger looks into the system level impact on what would be analyzed, looked into, and canceled, and that can be implemented. I couldn't finish the demo, but if you want to learn more, you can come to our booth in the demo station, and I'll be more than happy to show you what we have for the rest of the demo.